Hi, I'm Candace Michelle, and this is Our Community. The recent catastrophic wildfires in Southern California put disasters and our readiness to deal with them into sharp focus. In addition, the 7.0 earthquake off Northern California's Mendocino coast on December 5th and the ensuing tsunami warning already had many of us, reevaluating our escape routes and go bags. My guest today is Karen Johnson Dagenais. I was so close. Dagenais. Got it. And I was just saying to her before we started the show that I'm actually studying French, so I should have been able to figure that out. Anyway, Karen is the American Red Cross Curry Government Liaison, whatever the heck that means. So we're going to find out about that. Welcome to the show, Karen. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Candace. It's an honor to be here.
So the way that you and I got to do this show was we were sitting in the briefing, I guess, that Jeff Hughes was doing about the tsunami warnings.
Yes.
At Harbor. And that was an interesting experience.
Yes.
And I was a little bit surprised, really, that there weren't more people there.
Definitely.
I mean, because we're not, okay. I don't think we're ready. I don't think we're prepared. I could be completely wrong, but certainly I wasn't. So, yeah. So the topic of disasters has a whole bunch of facets, from preparedness to recovery, depending on the type of disaster, and the Red Cross is heavily involved. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got involved in the Red Cross and like that there.
Okay. Well, I've lived in Curry County since 1991.
Wow.
I started out working in the schools, first as a language arts teacher. I already had my degree in psychology and special education. So an opportunity came up for me to be a psychologist in the schools in Curry County. And then eventually I was also an autism consultant, a regional autism consultant. Through a lot of training.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. And I really, really enjoyed that role, working with parents, working with students, working with the teachers to develop programs to help the children and the parents navigate the system and be a positive support there for them.
Yeah, it's because their world is different. The world of autism is different.
Oh, it is. And also I worked with traumatic brain injury. I was on the state team for that. And both autism and traumatic brain injury, there's signs that people may not realize or behaviors that they might not understand. So that's part of the job of the psychologist, to work with the teachers to understand, to work with parents with behavior modification if necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it seems like the kids are acting out or something like that, when that is not at all what's going on.
Right. And sometimes the behavior has to do with being nonverbal. They don't know how to express themselves.
Right.
So out of frustration, they might start pounding, breaking things.
Right, exactly.
And it's not that they're trying to be
bad.
They're just trying to be heard. And so, again, it's teaching them other methods of communicating.
Right.
And
teaching the people who are around them to understand.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a whole different world.
Yes.
Well, that's excellent. So how did you get involved in the Red Cross?
Well,
once upon a time.
Yeah. So my grandmother was in Red Cross. My mother was Red Cross. And in fact, when I moved my parents out here in 2000, my mom was actually on my disaster action team. And we'll talk about that later. Yeah. I remember my mom, when I was in junior high, high school, she was teaching Red Cross classes, and at that time they were taught at the college level. And I would help her when she was teaching first aid CPR. She had this, it used to be called Annie, a big doll-like in a case, and I would carry it out for her. And
so good. You were in charge of Annie.
Yes, I was in charge of Annie, and she gave me actually her Red Cross book that she used to teach from, and I found it really interesting because she used a yellow highlighter, which is what I use all the time.
Right.
Too. Anyway, so I cherish it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's excellent. So it's kind of in your DNA then, the whole Red Cross thing, right? Grandmother, mother, and now you.
Right. Yeah. And my mother was always involved in a lot of social issues, concerns. I remember working with children, actually, when I was in high school and college, in migrant camps, working with them, teaching English, and, trying to be there and be supportive.
You had a great mama.
I did. I miss her dearly.
Yep, I bet. Yeah. So what was your first kind of disaster in the Red Cross?
So I was, I get emotional about this.
Of course.
The way I decided to finally, I had always wanted to be involved in Red Cross, and I was just working so many hours. I wasn't sure how I could do this. And then there was a fire in Harbor. It was the family that had owned the fish market. And I had gotten to know the son, and he had recently remarried, had a baby, had a daughter in, I think, sixth or seventh, junior high. And it was Thanksgiving. There was a candle. The father, the mother, the baby all died. The little girl, the young girl, was able to get out. So we were there as a psychologist doing counseling with the students. And I decided, now's the time. So that's when I joined Red Cross and started taking classes.
When did that happen?
Gosh, I can't even remember. It would have been, I'm going on my 25th year in Red Cross, so about 24 years ago, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right, so that was definitely before I got here, so that's why I don't remember that. But yeah.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah, and on Thanksgiving, I mean, come on, people, right?
Yeah, it was a combination of smoke and fire. And their poor dog died. And
oh, no. Yeah, not great.
No.
Not great. So interesting to me, because you are emotional about this. How do you do in emergencies? I fall apart.
I'm okay. I'm fine. I practice self-care.
Yeah.
It's after the emergency.
Oh, okay, yes.
That's when the adrenaline dies down.
Yep.
But no, I stay calm and focused.
Good for you.
Work through whatever the situation is and whatever my role is at that particular time for Red Cross.
Now, you said something to me about going to Katrina.
Yes.
So how was that? I mean, holy moly.
It was one of my first national deployments for disaster. And Red Cross, when a disaster is imminent, tornadoes, hurricanes, even fires, flooding, they'll pre-station people.
Wow.
Volunteers. And
that's
by the way,
smart, right?
Right. And 90% of Red Cross are made up of volunteers. Wow. So they're the key part, the heart, along with the generosity of donors that makes Red Cross what it is.
Yep.
So I was flown in while Hurricane Katrina was actually active.
Interesting.
and-
Did you
yeah.
actually fly through it?
No. I think we went to Fort Worth, Dallas.
Okay.
Can't
Yeah.
quite remember. But anyway, we were staged there for a couple days as volunteers came in. And when there's a national disaster, volunteers come from all over the country and sometimes from other countries, just depending on the scope of the disaster and the need. So for Katrina, when I actually got to Louisiana, they were in like a union hall setting up, and within 2 days they were fully staffed in I think a deserted Walmart or something.
Wow.
I mean, it was just amazing to see how the organization responds in a disaster. And of course, there's a lot of preparedness ahead of time.
Right.
So people know their roles and where supplies are, and a lot of things are done ahead of time. Of course, you have to.
Yep.
And I was just amazed. I was just amazed. And I ended up traveling throughout Louisiana to the different, they have big community centers, and many of those were shelters. So that was really interesting, and just getting the correct information out, meeting with officials. Actually, yeah, it was really interesting, and different celebrities come through. But it's like making sure the people that are impacted by the disaster have their privacy. The press, general public, we don't allow into where the beds are, the cots, and all that. And
I mean, it really just makes sense, right?
Right.
If somebody's in the middle of a trauma, you don't put them on TV.
right, exactly.
Come on, people.
Exactly. And if somebody wants to talk with someone
Right.
that's impacted, we ask first
Of course.
if they want to. And
So how long were you there?
gosh, at least 3 weeks, maybe more.
Wow.
I ended up, I worked with a number of regional directors. In fact, it was interesting because I was traveling with the CEO of the Hawaiian Red Cross.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was quite interesting.
Wow.
And of course, Red Cross, when there's a disaster, hotel rooms, all of that go to the people that have been impacted by the disaster, not necessarily Red Cross. So we had some kind of sketchy places to stay. I won't go into detail, but some were rented out by the hour.
Oh, dear. Oh, Karen.
Kind of blew the Hawaii CEO's mind.
I bet it did.
Anyway, but it was a wonderful relationship, and
That's
then I
great.
ended up being requested to stay at one of the Louisiana area.
And you said people come in from all over the world. So Red Cross is international.
Red Cross is international. We have the International Red Cross. In fact, there's Red Cross workers right now in Ukraine.
Wow.
And again, we're volunteers.
Wow.
So, they're taking that risk.
Yep. Literally
right.
risking their lives.
Right, they are. So,
Wow.
and Red Cross is neutral. We don't take sides. We're open to everybody. If
You told me the motto or the
our mission,
yeah.
the Red Cross mission is to prevent and alleviate human suffering and mobilize the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors.
Wow, that is just beautiful. It's just beautiful.
And Red Cross is not funded by the government, but we are chartered by the government to respond to disasters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was founded by Clara Barton.
Many years ago.
Civil War, yes.
Wow.
So there's a long, long heritage there,
Yep.
and I'm
I love
really, really proud to be
that. Yeah.
able to volunteer for
Absolutely.
Red Cross.
So, you are a government liaison. What does that mean?
Basically, it means that we're working with the local officials, the state officials, the federal officials to work with and coordinate what Red Cross is, what their needs are, and what Red Cross is able to do to support it, to support the communities, the state, wherever the disaster happens.
Right.
So when there's a disaster, there's an emergency operations center. So usually we're involved with that. We might we go to all the stand-up meetings that usually FEMA's directing, or the fire officials are if it's a wildfire.
Right.
But the big thing is preparing ahead of time. So designating possible shelters, making sure evacuation routes are there, having the officials know what Red Cross is able to do and not able to do. So in a disaster, we're part of the Cascades region, which is Oregon and Southwest Washington. If there were a disaster here, we would pull from our local volunteers first throughout our region. Right now we have 19 volunteers in LA at the fires from Cascades region. And there's over close 500 plus volunteers there right now.
Wow. And I can't think of anything more important. If you've just lost your house and everything in it, I can't think of anything more important than having people there to help you.
Yes. So we have, I think, 6 shelters in LA right now, and everyone's welcome at a shelter. We do not ask for identification. We do ask that you register just so we can keep track.
Right.
If somebody inquires about you, we do not release that information without your permission. Right. In the shelter, you can actually stay there. We have accommodations for people that have special needs, different disabilities. You can charge your phone. You can get a hot meal. We have mental health there. We have spiritual care often. We have health services, licensed nurses, etc. Same thing with mental health. They're all licensed. We also work with reunification, the North Carolina floods. Actually, I worked virtually doing reunification, and that was very, very satisfying.
Yeah.
But we also have casework, client care. So when somebody's impacted, whether it's a house fire, which is our most common disaster that we respond to, we have services that individuals can access. And if there's a death, we have a special team that responds to that.
Karen, that's amazing. I had no idea. I had no idea that the Red Cross did all of that.
Yes, we do. In fact, right now, they're going through damage assessment. They're doing all the things I already mentioned, plus casework, whether people are in shelters or in temporary residence. It's important they reach out to Red Cross, and Red Cross will be there.
So generally speaking, if there's a disaster, is it up to the government officials to reach out to Red Cross and say, we're going to need you?
Yes. Yes. For instance.
And can we count on the government officials, knowing that?
Yes. We work with the government officials to build up rapport, build up our supportive community plans, so what we're able to do and what we can't do. The worst scenario is if we have a tsunami. Well, obviously, we're kind of going to be on our own, and the volunteers here will take care of themselves and their families first.
Right.
And then, if they're able, we will
try to figure it out.
Right. And then as soon as access is permitted and safe, then more and more Red Cross volunteers will come in.
Good.
But we go through really extensive planning each year for the Cascadia event. We have people at this state office that works with disasters, and with the local government. So,
and I can't stress enough how important preparedness is.
yes.
I remember I was sitting in front of my computer on December 5th, and the way I knew that we were having a problem was I got some kind of a notification over my phone, and I think it was from the earthquake people. I don't think it wasn't local. It was the earthquake, whoever it is that monitors earthquakes.
There's
exactly.
an app that does that.
I never know who they are, but I'm always glad to get the notification, right?
Right.
So here's this notification, 7.0 earthquake off of Eureka somewhere, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then immediately afterwards was the tsunami warning, and I'm like, oh, okay, wow, what exactly do I do now? And seriously, that is not a great position to be in.
No, it's not. And that's why preparedness is so important.
Yeah.
Whether it's preparedness for a house fire, that you have an escape route, that people know where to meet your family, having a connection outside of the disaster zone that you can connect with, having a to-go kit in your car as well as in your home.
And that really hit home with me because my husband is disabled. Yes. So how was I going to get him? And he was asleep. So how was I going to get him awake, get him up, get him to the car, get my dog into the car, and grab my go bag? And then it occurred to me, my go bag is sitting in the living room by the front door, which is great, right? But it's got about an inch of dust on it, which means, hello, I haven't even opened it in like 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Probably not great.
Well, there's, again, preparedness is key. It's, in your situation, if you have neighbors to possibly help you, if your husband has medical devices, making sure you have backup batteries.
Right.
Making sure you have, it's good to have a month's worth of medications. Whatever you need in your go bag, but for your at-home bag, having food.
Yeah.
That, even sardines, tuna, peanut butter.
That lasts for a while.
In a
can. Yes.
Right. And it's good to rotate those things out.
Right.
Having water or having the little tablets that'll clear the water or a life straw. Having food for your dog, a carrier if possible, the leash, identification. Having copies of your important documents, your driver's license, your home insurance, any of those things. You want to have water, a way to keep warm. Those emergency thermal blankets are good. In a pinch, in your car, if you don't have thermal blankets, you could use a big plastic garbage can, cut out a hood to keep you warm.
Is there a list somewhere?
Oh, yeah.
Like if let's pretend I know nothing about being prepared, which is not a real stretch. Where would I go to find a list of what I should have?
You can go to redcross.org, but also we offer Red Cross Ready classes where we go through all the planning and important things to take. I mean, you want to have a flashlight. You want to have batteries for your phone. You want to have things that all keep you occupied.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, whether it's drawing or cards or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
So all those things.
Sudoku.
Yeah, all that's so important. And it's a good idea to have some cash. And they suggest like lower denomination.
Right.
In case the ATMs aren't working.
Right. In fact, they probably won't be.
Right.
I mean, if it's a real disaster, a big one,
Right.
probably nothing is actually going to be working.
Right. And actually, again, if it's the tsunami and it's the major one, of course, it's the waves. If you're in an area that's impacted by that, and the emergency manager does have a map for Curry, and they're also available at the county. There's one for Gold Beach, there's one for Brookings, and one for Port Orford.
Great.
I lost my train of thought.
The tsunami, if it's the
tsunami,
the
yeah.
tsunami is going to basically take things out. There really isn't going to be much left that you can.
If we have the major one,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, right.
And that's why planning is so important.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to
Critical.
get from one side of Chetco to the other? How are you gonna
Yes.
get all that?
And what about the bridges? Right. The bridges will be gone.
The bridges very
Yeah.
well they go. And so again, it's for your community and your neighborhood to be prepared to work together because again, the tsunami is one thing, but it's the earthquake that's
Yes.
probably going to do the damage.
A lot of damage.
And if it's the worst scenario, it could go all the way to Medford.
Yeah, which
so
is
that's why, that's why they say be prepared for at least 3 weeks.
Right. And probably 3 months is more likely.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just thinking, we're not exactly the center of the universe here.
No.
So we're not going to be the first ones that they try to save, right?
Right.
Not.
Right.
It's going to take a while to get to us.
Right. Whether they have to use boats from the Coast Guard or whether they have to fly in helicopters,
Yep.
which they did in the rural areas in North Carolina.
Right. Right.
Whatever they could possibly do. And as far as Curry County, if it's not the tsunami,
Yeah.
or if there's areas that are still okay after the earthquake, we do have 3 disaster trailers positioned in Curry County that have supplies to open shelters.
Great.
And again, shelters are places not only to sleep if you want to, but a safe place to go with meals as soon as possible, hot meals, care for children, again, all the supportive client care services, spiritual care, mental health.
And the mental health is going to be really important.
Yes.
I would think most of us will be losing our minds.
Yes.
What little was left of them to begin with. Yeah.
Right. Until recently, now they're using a national disaster hotline that isn't Red Cross. But we used to have until, 4 or 5 months ago, under client care, individual client services, we had national teams that manned the phones for disability integration, for spiritual care, for health services, and for mental health. And I actually was the lead for the mental health team, and we had a wonderful, wonderful team.
great.
But Red Cross is kind of always trying to make things more efficient,
Yes.
better, and
Yeah,
so there
of
was a
course.
change there.
Yeah.
But I know for Hurricane Ian, that the 4 groups that I mentioned, we were on for 11 months.
Wow.
With people calling and could help direct resources. Like I remember we had people that were really in rural areas, and when there's a disaster, they also set up feeding routes for people that are still in their homes but are impacted.
Right.
And so we were able to direct food to this a woman who had a disability, a special need, and get her food, get her the things that she needed.
So you mentioned Red Cross Ready. So those are meetings that you?
No, it's a class.
It's a class.
It's a class
Okay.
that.
And who goes to those? I mean, where are they held, and who can go to them? And
They're usually requested by different groups in the community.
Okay.
The library could request one.
Okay.
A homeowners group could request one. Emergency management could request that we do a series of teachings.
Great.
And they go through all the steps of preparedness, go through what an ideal Go kit would look like. And again, it's so important to have one in your car as well as your home, because you don't know where you're going to be when disaster strikes. I mean, where I live is a higher elevation, so it wouldn't be the tsunami, but I know there's an earthquake fault right by my house.
Yes.
So,
right.
But for this, I could be in Pistol River.
That's right.
And,
Yep, you got it. If you're going to have something, you better have it where you're going to be.
Right, in comfortable shoes if you have to walk.
Yeah,
I mean, it's lots of things to think about. And your individual situation is what's most important. If you have children, if you have babies, diapers, formula, if you have individuals that have special diets, considering all those things. And as far as special diets goes, in the shelter, we really try to work through that too. And ethically, ethnicity, we try to be aware of what foods are acceptable, what foods aren't acceptable, what foods are preferred.
That's amazing. I mean, it's so impressive to me. I mean, it's such a broad, caring way of handling people who are in the midst of a disaster, because you're so vulnerable when you're in that situation.
And all Red Cross volunteers go through a background check. They're all fingerprinted and go through extensive training, depending on what area of Red Cross you want to volunteer in.
Right. So, we've talked extensively about disaster and preparedness. And of course, there are other steps to disaster. There's response and then there's recovery, which I assume the Red Cross is.
Right. That's our cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Preparedness, response, and recover. So we're constantly in that cycle.
With a different disaster. I mean, if you had more than one disaster happening at one time, you might be in a different phase.
Yes. I mean, right now
places.
we're still working with Florida, North Carolina, Tennessee from the flooding. And poor
It's amazing
Florida
that they are not back yet from that.
Right.
I mean, wow.
Right. And then we work with human-caused disasters, like the Oklahoma bombing years ago.
Oh. Wow.
When there's a transportation accident, a plane crash, bus, all that, we're involved with that.
School shootings?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, we respond to that.
Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that would be difficult. I mean, that would just be really difficult.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And so another thing mental health does is we work with the staff after when they come back from deployments. And actually, when I was on North Carolina working reunification, one of their disaster mental health individuals checked in with me to see how I was coping, how I was doing.
That's great. That's great. Because we forget that the people who are running toward the disaster instead of away from it, I would be one running away. But the people who run toward, it takes a lot to do that. And their mental health has to be thought about as well, right?
Yes.
I mean, you're not a robot.
Especially when there's fatalities. It really has a very strong impact.
Yeah.
And so,
It would.
yeah, we work
Absolutely.
on self-care.
Yep, yep. So disaster is certainly one of the aspects for Red Cross, but you also have like a blood drive.
Yes, that's another division, blood services. And right now, between LA and the East Coast, all the storms and how it's disrupted everything, Red Cross is in desperate need of blood.
Wow,
We're
I
like
didn't know that.
1,500 units short. And we do have a blood drive coming up here. And what Red Cross does is it supplies blood to hospitals across the nation. And there's surgeries that can happen. There's emergencies that need blood, and the blood isn't there. So, consider giving the gift of life. It's so important, and all blood types are needed. Some blood types, you can give the gift of life twice by doing a power red, which is where they pull out the red cells, but you're rehydrated, and some people like that very much. It goes for sickle cell survivors to help people with sickle cell. I guess there's like over 500 different antigens in blood, and so you might have an A positive and think, okay, but that A positive might also contain a really rare antigen. And I also want to speak directly to Curry County. I know in the past we've had some long waits. We were short-staffed. I want to assure you right now, if you call 1-800-RED-CROSS, which is 1-800-733-2767, to make an appointment, or go online to redcross.org. And also I'll be getting flyers out and hopefully getting some PSAs out. The delay isn't there anymore. So I apologize to anybody that came to volunteer and left because of the time wait. So we don't have that anymore. So I want to reassure you. And the blood drive will be the end of February, Monday the 21st from 10 to 5. These are in Brookings, the Star of the Sea. So Monday from 10 to 5 at Star of the Sea, and Tuesday from 10:30 to 4. And also, walk-ins are welcome. You might have to wait a little longer, but last blood drive, we were able to get the walk-ins in very, very quickly. So don't hesitate if you're willing to donate. And then it'll be at the Curry County Library on the following Wednesday, which would be the 26th. And I think that's from 10 to 3. But
And that's in Gold Beach.
Yes,
right?
at the Curry County Library.
Right.
Yes. So, and as a perk, this time they're giving a $15 gift card.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah. Last time it was shirts.
A gift card is absolutely delightful. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and we're so grateful to everybody that takes the time. It's just, I know I've spoken, I really enjoy, I'm a blood donor ambassador too, and I so enjoy going to the blood drives and meeting so many people in the community that are willing to take the time to give the gift of life, donate their blood, and also getting to know them personally, and also it's a sense of community within itself.
Yeah.
And often they'll try to encourage a friend or someone else
That's
to come.
nice.
And we also have one at the high school periodically.
Great.
And yeah, it's the Brookings High School students are
Really?
absolutely awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, they just,
Wow.
and they're so polite and
Aw,
caring.
yes.
And in fact, I had to run out at one of them and usually we get pizza for the kids.
Of course.
Yeah. And I was getting the pizza, and I was coming in, and big pizzas, 3 or 4 boxes. And
Right.
one student saw me, "Oh, can I open the door? Can I carry this down? Oh, thank you for being a Red Cross volunteer."
Yes, that's wonderful.
They were, yeah, and it's all run by the students. We're there as support. But,
Nice.
yeah, and
That's
the community
great.
can come in when we have those too.
Well, we have a great community here.
Oh,
I mean,
awesome.
people step up to help all the time in all kinds of things. So, we will continue to get the word out. Definitely do a PSA, and we will air it on the station.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
very appreciated.
So if you say you're 1,500 units short, how does that translate into people giving, into their donating? How does that? I mean, like if one person goes in and donates, does that mean that you're now
That's a unit.
1,499 short? Okay.
Right. And of course, it's constantly increasing.
Well,
and so,
true.
you think of going back to LA, the individuals that were actually burned in the fire. There's a blood need there. Again, people that are waiting for operations, emergencies that happen, car accidents, on and on.
So it really should be top of mind that if there is an opportunity to increase the blood banks, that's
Yes.
what we need to do.
Yes, yes. And this last year, it used to be years ago, we'd have a disaster, plenty of time to recover. I mean, we've had so many major disasters this year. We've had the hurricanes, we've had the tornadoes, we've had the flooding, we have the fires. When we had, in 2020, when we had the fires, that went from one end of Oregon to the other.
Yep.
We had people, because we have a housing shortage, we had people in hotels forever. I mean, not forever, for quite a long
A
time.
long time.
And that was supported through Red Cross and then FEMA.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's hope FEMA stays around.
Oh, I know. Let's hope FEMA stays around. Yes. So there's a huge thing, obviously, that the Red Cross does in terms of preparation. Can the preparation be for different kinds of disasters?
Yeah.
I mean, is that
Yes. So I would suggest the first disaster you might prepare for is a home fire, because that's the most common. I think there's one every 5 seconds.
oh my
it's-
word?
5 seconds or 5 minutes, but I'm pretty sure
Right.
it's 5 seconds
Wow.
across the United States. So that's what we respond to the very most. And again, all the services that I mentioned about client care and casework. And well, first of all, the disaster action team is who responds. The fire department might call, or the person that was impacted might call, and then that's all verified. And then, if possible, we're on the scene as quickly as possible, and we can provide. Usually, we have blankets, we have comfort kits, we have toy stuffed bears, Mickey Mouses for the kids, and for the adults if they need one. And
Yes. Some of us do.
Right. And then what we do is if they accept financial assistance, which is through the generosity of the American people and our donors, then they're given a sum for immediate needs, and it's up to them how to spend that money. Other than drugs,
Yeah, that might be frowned on.
yeah, legal drugs are fine.
Exactly.
Medicine.
Aspirin is great.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, if their medication's burned up, disaster health services will help them. If they're having a hard time coping, kids were involved, disaster mental health is involved.
Right.
And again, it's at request. Red Cross keeps information confidential unless you give a release.
So let's say that my house burns down tonight. Please not, but let's just say. So would it be my responsibility, or would I be able to let the Red Cross know that I was now in trouble, or would that be up to the fire department?
No, either.
Okay.
Our Brookings Fire Department, Chief Wilson, and our Harbor Fire Department are very, very good about calling Red Cross and letting us know.
Okay.
They'll ask your permission first.
Of course.
And even if you have insurance, Red Cross is still there because we're dealing with immediate needs.
Right.
Your insurance may not kick in right away.
No, maybe not for a few months.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. So again, it's so important to have an escape plan, have an outside contact, have a place, if you're separated when this happens, for you to meet in a safe place. And again, if you have time to grab your Go kit, that's good. But that doesn't always happen.
Well, if you actually position your Go kit at the front door, assuming your front door is accessible in the disaster, you can grab it on your way out.
Right.
But again, it would help if there were not an inch of dust on the Go kit, which means that you haven't looked at it in, 5 years.
Right. And you want to resupply things, especially the food, the water.
Yep.
All that has expiration dates. Canned food is usually good for quite a while.
Right.
So if it's canned food, make sure you have
a can
opener. Yes.
I mean, I laugh about it, probably to dispel the anxiety that I'm feeling, but it's true. We don't, and I can't be the only one who does this, but we don't want to think about it. We don't want to think about what that might look like.
Exactly.
Which is crazy.
Right. When we had the Chocobar fires, I happened to be in India, but I was getting calls. Yeah.
Okay. That is not the United States.
Leh, which is right near the Tibetan border.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, so there really wasn't a lot of communication.
Right.
But before, when I had landed in New Delhi, I got a call actually from Dr. John at Town and Country saying he wanted to help and that, he would take animals in. So I gave him the right.
That's great.
Got him connected with who we needed to connect and made sure everybody else in Red Cross that was calling me knew I wasn't there.
Right.
So bad me, I probably should have done a better notification. But anyway, but meanwhile, my animals are with a setter, and I had some big Afghan hounds then, and some little ones and kitties, and so friends got together and got them all to Dr. John, which I was so grateful for.
But that's an important thing.
Oh, it is.
I mean, it's huge.
Right. And the reason I mention this is because I realized the little car I had could not get all these animals in it.
No.
Yes.
Right?
So,
and that has to be then part of the planning.
It does.
If you've got 10 animals and some of them are big and you've got a motor scooter, you're in trouble.
Right. So I ended up getting an SUV and have lots of crates, some that fold so I can get everybody in there. And so I keep dog food and cat food and all that in the car too.
Yep. It's just, when you actually start to think about it, when you force yourself to actually think about it, there are just so many things that you're going to say, oh, I wish I had done that.
Right. And speaking of pets, animals, please know service animals are welcome inside the shelter. We don't want people to not leave because of their pets. We're working and actually with different rescue groups and also with shelters that possibly we can have a designated area for the animals so you can visit your animal and,
Right.
not worry about them. I know when I was at Katrina, they had at the community centers, they had huge tents set up for the animals. And the different animal organizations were there. So
Because for some of us, we actually rely on our animals to keep us sane.
yes,
You know,
definitely.
it's just
there are supports.
yeah, it's just the way it is. I don't
Right.
know what I would do without my dog. You
Right,
know, it's just,
right. And any disaster, you'll hear that over and over again. People didn't leave and ended up dying because they were there for their pets. And so be proactive and figure out
Yep.
how you can get your animals out, how you can get your family out safely, consider their needs, think of through all the scenarios, what you need to function, and the minimum that you need to be able to get through a couple days.
it should be longer than that, though, right?
Oh, definitely. I'm talking
yeah.
about your in your car kit.
Yeah.
But yes, it should. As far as a major disaster, they're saying 2 to 3 weeks. As Candace said, it could be 3 months.
Yeah,
So,
because we're not top of the list in terms of they're coming to save us. We're not top of the list.
right. I would think we'd get supplies before then through helicopters.
Maybe.
Right,
Depends on
right.
whether or not they can land.
Exactly.
I mean, we don't know what it's going to look like.
No,
We have no clue.
we have predictions.
Yes.
Yeah, from the state level on down.
Right.
So.
But it all depends on
does.
what actually happens. I mean, it could be the Cascadia event, but maybe it's a smaller Cascadia event than what they're saying is the one that comes every 300 years or 200 years or whatever.
I think the more imminent threat is the wildfires. I mean, we're in a very high hazard zone.
Yep.
So doing the things the fire department recommends about clearing and all that. But again, having a plan, practicing the plan is good.
I mean, really, our community should have a plan. There
Yes.
should be neighborhood plans, and there
Yes.
should be a community-wide plan. And because as I was sitting there, getting the tsunami warning, I'm thinking, all right, well, theoretically, I'm supposed to drive to higher ground, but if I go up this street, isn't everybody else from my neighborhood going to be going up this street? And is that so seriously, if I get stuck in traffic, of what use was that?
Right, which happened in Paradise,
Yes,
in
I know.
Hawaii.
I know.
So yes,
Yeah.
The community being prepared, working with your neighbors is so essential.
Yep. So if we wanted to have Red Cross classes in neighborhoods, how would we go about doing that?
Well, you could contact me through my email is Karen KRYN dot it's a long one Johnson JOHNSENDAGENA 2 at redcross.org. Or you can call Red Cross. We have a Medford office, and Trevor Prier is our disaster program manager, and he can schedule classes.
Great.
And we have various instructors. I'm an instructor, too.
I mean, realistically, that is something we should do because every neighborhood is a little bit different.
Yes.
And we each should know what our neighborhood plan is.
Yes. And just for a minute, going back to home fires, Red Cross also works with the fire departments in the state to install free smoke alarms.
Oh, excellent.
And we also have, if someone has difficulty hearing or they're not able to hear, we have alarms that go under the bed, that shake the bed.
Wow.
So again, you can call Red Cross about that or check with, I know both Harbor and Brookings fire departments have those alarms and can install those through the Red Cross.
Excellent.
And the
Karen,
state fire marshal.
We're nearly out of time. This happens every single show I do, and yet I'm constantly surprised. It's like, how can we be out of time? We just started. But I want to thank you not only for coming and being on the show, which has been amazing and wonderful, but thank you for what you do. Thank you for being one of those people that runs toward the disaster, because those of us who just don't have that in them, who are running away, it really helps that there are people running towards. So
well, thank you, Candace. And we do need volunteers. Again, 1-800-RED CROSS. There's so many different opportunities. Again, reach out to me if you'd like more information.
I think that's just excellent, and we will have you back.
Oh, wonderful.
Because I really want to talk to a lot of different people about this whole emergency and disaster preparedness. So we will definitely have you back.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
It has been great having you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank you for listening. My guest today has been Karen Johnson. I'm going to blow it. I know it. Dagenet. Oh, good job. You should just coach me all the time. With the American Red Cross, and we've been talking about disaster preparedness and recovery. The next time I'll be talking with Jeff Hughes, the new emergency manager for Curry County, about the county's plans and resources. I'm Candace Michelle, and this is Our Community.